My wife said, "You'd never make it alone." I replied, "Watch me." It was a Thursday. I remember because the garbage truck came late, and the dog next door didn't bark. Small things. Things you wouldn't think matter until you're looking backward, cataloging your last normal morning. Marissa was already dressed when I came down. Hair to done for a work-from-home Thursday. Lipstick. Subtle but there. Her travel mug was already filled usually. I made her coffee. Today she didn't wait. She smiled when she saw me. Tight. Measured. Like someone practicing a facial expression they hadn't worn in a while. "Morning," she said, voice just above a whisper. "Morning," I replied, fishing the eggs out of the fridge. "You heading in today?" She nodded too quickly. Big pitch, can't miss it. We hadn't talked much the night before. I chalked it up to the wine, the weather, the shows she binge-watched without me. But that morning, something clung to the air between us like humidity before a storm. I noticed her hand tremble slightly as she adjusted her coat. She dropped her phone. Twice. "I'll be home late," she said, not looking me in the eye. I kissed her cheek. She flinched. Just enough that I noticed, but not enough that I could call it out. I opened the fridge again after she left. Stared inside like it held answers. Her coffee mug was still on the counter. Full. She'd taken the travel one from the cupboard. Something she only did when she wanted to leave early. Unnoticed, I stood there, holding a carton of eggs, thinking, since when does she wear heels on Thursdays? It started with a rash. Nothing dramatic. Just a small patch on the inside of my thigh that itched more than it should have. I ignored it for a week. Figured it was detergent, or heat, or maybe the gym towels. But when it didn't go away, I booked an appointment at the urgent care center near the office. It was a Tuesday. The waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. A kid was coughing into his sleeve, 2 chairs down. I didn't feel sick, just cautious. The nurse practitioner was polite. Took a look, asked some questions, ran a few tests, without much comment. She left the room and came back 15 minutes later with a folder and a change in her expression, no longer professionally detached, just gentler. "Do you mind if I ask?" she said. "Have you or your partner had unprotected contact with anyone new in the last few months?" The question hung there, and I didn't move. "No," I said. "We've been together 11 years. Married 6. She nodded, lips tight. "You tested positive for chlamydia." The word didn't land right away. She explained what it was, what it meant. I barely heard any of it. I took the prescription, nodded when she said to make sure my partner got tested too. I walked to the pharmacy, like a man crossing wet pavement, careful not to slip. I picked up the pills. The bag crinkled in my hand the whole drive home. I kept replaying the last time Marissa and I had been intimate. It had been 2 weeks, maybe 3. She'd said she was tired, done in the kitchen. I set the white pharmacy bag on the table. No confrontations, no rage, just a mental list. I hadn't slept with anyone else. I hadn't kissed anyone. I hadn't even flirted. My records were clean. My conscience was clear, which meant I looked over at the wedding photo on the sideboard. We were barefoot on the beach, smiling like to people who thought they knew what forever looked like. It meant this could only have come from her. We met in a grocery store. Marissa was comparing olive oil labels, and I joked about how brands manipulate packaging. She freely laughed, and we ended up talking for 20 minutes in the condiments aisle. 2 days later, we had our first date. She was grounded, principled, taught Sunday school, believed in waiting for marriage. I respected that. It made me trust her. We married a year later, simple vows in her parents' backyard. She said my quiet nature made her feel safe. We had Jonah 2 years in, then Lila. Life became routine. School drop-offs, grocery lists, bedtime stories. She kept the house running. I worked long IT hours. We made it work. Somewhere around year 7, she changed, not loudly, quietly. Earbuds. In during dinner, just a podcast, she'd say. Nights alone on the couch. Sex faded into polite avoidance. She never rejected me, just stopped engaging. I kept telling myself it was stress. Life. Normal drift. But the distance was deliberate. Subtle, but deliberate. Now, with test results folded in a pharmacy bag, I saw it clearly. It wasn't sudden. It had been happening slowly. Not as a break, but as a steady, silent exit. And I hadn't noticed. I started with a phone bill. Not her messages, she was smart enough to delete those. But the call log doesn't lie. A number I didn't recognize popped up 14 times in 1 week. Always between 10 p.m. and midnight. Always outgoing. I copied the number into a spreadsheet. No name, just a local area code. Next came the credit card statements. She hadn't switched cards, just habits. Uber rides billed from office parks, hotel bars, and once, a zip code 30 miles from her actual client. That one had a room service charge at a place we'd never stayed. The receipts were small. Lunch for two. Gas stations out of her usual route. A burner phone from a convenience store to counties over. That one wasn't on our shared account. I only found it because she left the bag in the back of the hall closet behind the winter coats. I opened it, for contacts. All initials. One message, same room. 7:30. Don't forget your ring. I didn't get angry. I got quiet. I drove to my parents' house the next morning. My father met me on the porch with a mug of black coffee, looked at my face, and didn't ask questions. My mother just said, "Sit," and warmed up something from the fridge. I didn't eat it. I told him everything. Calmly. No tears, no drama. Just data points. The diagnosis, the receipts, the burner phone. My mother closed her eyes. My father stayed silent. Jaw set the way it gets when he wants to break something but won't. Get a lawyer, my dad said. Start documenting everything. You don't have to confront her yet. I nodded. I already had. I called Marissa's sister that afternoon. Jessica and I had never been close, but I figured she had a right to know. I didn't accuse, didn't speculate, just said Marissa seemed distant, and I was gathering information. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Lila told me something last week." I thought she was making it up. What did she say? She said, "Mummy goes to hotels with Uncle Jason." Jason. The number in the call logs. Her coworker, divorced, wore expensive watches and never talked about his ex. That night, I tucked Jonah into bed. He asked me if Mommy was mad at me. I said no. He asked if she was sick. I told him no again. He whispered. I heard her crying in the car. She said your name. I kissed his forehead and turned off the light. I sat on the couch after they were asleep and opened a blank document titled Chronology of Events. Then, I looked up the number for a local family lawyer. It was time to act. The private investigator was clinical. No melodrama. Just a thumb drive in a plain manila envelope and a few printouts paper-clipped together. He slid them across the table at the diner like a menu. She was followed 3 times. Same man, same hotel, same room. There's audio, too. I nodded. Didn't open the envelope there. Just paid for my coffee and drove home. In my study, I plugged in the thumb drive. The photos were exactly what I expected. Marissa and Jason in the parking lot, in the elevator, at the door. Nothing graphic. Just damning. The audio file was short, a voice recording from the hallway. Fuzzy at first, but then clear. Marissa, he still doesn't suspect anything. It's like living with a ghost. Jason, you think he'd ever leave? Marissa, he won't. He's too proud. He thinks loyalty means staying stupid. Jason, then you've got him exactly where you want him. Marissa laughs. He'd never make it alone. I paused the file. Sat there, staring at the screen. The words repeated like background radiation. He'd never make it alone. 2 days later, she fainted at work. Stress-induced, they said. Low blood sugar. She was admitted for observation. Nothing life-threatening, just enough to strip the confidence from her voice when she answered the phone. Her hospital room smelled like plastic and wilted flowers. She looked up, startled, when I walked in, pale, weaker than I'd ever seen her. I placed the manila envelope on her tray. Photos, call logs, audio. No need to explain, I said. It's already documented. She reached for my hand. I didn't move. Please, don't do this, she whispered. Her voice cracked, but I stayed still. You gave away what wasn't yours to give, I replied, placing the signed divorce papers on the nightstand. No screaming, no threats, just quiet finality. I turned and walked out, leaving her with silence and truth. She said I'd never make it alone. I picked up lasagna, tucked in the kids, and slept beside her empty pillow. No yelling, no revenge, just silence and clarity. She planned her exit over years. I made mine in days. Calmly, quietly, without her ring, without her lies, just without her.